The first time I saw her, she wasn't supposed to exist. Not in the Milky Way. Not in this quadrant of the Orion Arm. And definitely not on a derelict space station orbiting a dying red star. I was part of the salvage crew for the Osprey, a long-range scavenger ship working under the Central Colony's Reconstruction Authority. We were the bottom feeders of the galaxy, picking clean the bones of abandoned stations, crashed cruisers, and forgotten worlds after the expansion wars. My name's Aaron Vale, ex-navigator turned scavenger. I'd seen a lot of strange things in the vacuum. Dead civilizations, forgotten AI ghosts, but nothing prepared me for her. The mission was routine. Or so it seemed. The Discovery. We were 6 weeks out from New Terra when we received an encoded distress ping. Barely a whisper through the static of a decaying signal. It came from Station Mirren 4, a research outpost thought to have been destroyed during the Thalen offensive nearly 80 years ago. The beacon shouldn't have been transmitting, but the data tag was authentic. That meant someone or something had reactivated it. Captain Dross approved a short-range hop. He wanted the data cores and anything salvageable. Old tech from Mirren stations was priceless on the black markets. When we arrived, Mirren 4 was wrong. The station rotated slowly, lightless except for the dim glow of its emergency beacon. No heat signatures. No life signs. But deep in its core, our scanners picked up faint power fluctuations, something still running after 8 decades. The docking bay opened automatically when we approached, as if it had been expecting us. Probably an automated sequence, Dross muttered over comms. Grab what you can and don't touch the reactors. I went in with Kai, our engineer, and Lyra, our medic. The air was stale but breathable. We passed through corridors lined with frost and shattered glass panels. Equipment lay scattered as though abandoned mid-experiment. Then we found the containment chamber. It was circular, sealed by layers of transparent alloy. Inside floated a pod. And inside the pod her. First I thought she was human. Pale skin, dark hair that shimmered like ink in zero-G. And delicate facial features almost too perfect to be natural. She wore a crystalline suit threaded with glowing veins of energy. Her eyes, though closed, pulsed faintly with violet light beneath her lids. Holy stars, Kai whispered. That's no stasis pod I've ever seen. Lyra was already scanning. Vital signs are faint, but present. She's alive. Impossible, I said. No human body lasts 80 years without decomposition. Who said she's human? Lyra murmured. She was right. The pod's surface was etched with alien runes I'd never seen before, curving symbols that seemed to shift when I stared too long. And beneath the pod was a containment field, still active, reading strange bioenergetic wavelengths. Kai whistled. She's the power source. This entire station's still alive because of her. Dross ordered us to extract the pod and haul it back to the Osprey. He didn't care what she was, only that she could be sold to the right buyer. But as we began the transfer, the pod's systems flickered. Then her eyes snapped open. To the awakening. Her gaze was like looking into the heart of a dying star. Violet, streaked with silver. She looked at each of us, not with fear, but with recognition. Then she whispered something. Soft, melodic, and utterly alien. A surge of energy blasted from the pod, throwing Kai into the wall and shorting every light in the bay. The entire station groaned, as though awakening from a long sleep. When I came to, alarms were blaring. The containment field had collapsed, and the pod was open. The woman floated before us, free. Lyra aimed her plasma cutter. Don't move. But she didn't seem hostile. She looked down at her hands as if seeing them for the first time. Her gaze fell on me, and she frowned slightly. Then, in a voice like glass sliding over silk, she said in perfect standard, "Where am I?" I stared. You can speak." "I learned," she said simply. "From your transmissions. You've been loud." Kai groaned, clutching his head. "What the hell are you?" She hesitated. "I was called Sarah, last of the Mirren Guardians. Or what remains of one." Her words sent a chill through me. The Mirren weren't just stations. They were part of a defense network designed to study and repel the Diarethol, the vampiric species that had once consumed entire planetary biospheres. If Sarah was linked to that project, she was ancient. We brought her aboard the Osprey against Dross's better judgment. She didn't resist. She sat quietly in the medbay, watching us with that calm, unsettling stare. Lyra drew a blood sample from me later that night to calibrate our bioscanners. Routine stuff. Sarah happened to be in the medbay at the time. When she saw the needle pierce my skin, a single drop of blood welled up and floated into the air in 0G. Her reaction was instant. She flinched back as if struck. Her pupils constricted, and her breathing quickened. "Stop," she said sharply. "Don't let it touch me." Lyra froze. "What's wrong?" Sarah's gaze darted between us. "Your blood, it's wrong. Dangerous." I frowned. "Dangerous. It's just blood." She shook her head. "Not just. Not to me. Not to any of my kind." Then she said something that left us in stunned silence. "You're carrying the infection. The Red Sun disease." The Red Sun truth. None of us had heard that name before. But Sarah explained it in fragments, like recalling a nightmare she'd tried to forget. Millennia ago, her species, the Eren, sometimes called starfeeders by ancient records, had evolved to consume stellar plasma for sustenance. To primitive civilizations, they looked like vampires feeding on the lifeblood of suns. They could shape energy, alter biology, and manipulate quantum resonance. Their science was indistinguishable from magic. But during their war with the Diarethol, a biological weapon was unleashed, a mutagenic virus that corrupted Eren bloodlines. The infected began consuming organic blood instead of plasma, turning them into the very monsters humanity would one day mythologize as vampires. Sarah had been part of the team trying to stop the spread of that plague. Mirren 4 wasn't just a research outpost, it was a quarantine station. And she had been placed in stasis to contain the last uninfected Eren genome. Now, she said, my blood carried the mutated strain. "That's impossible," Lyra protested. "Humans don't have alien viruses." Sarah looked at me, sadness in her eyes. "Not anymore. The virus adapted. Hid itself in your genome generations ago. You are the descendants of the infected." It was absurd. Yet her words unlocked fragments of human mythology. The pale skin, aversion to sunlight, thirst for blood. Could it be that the ancient vampire legends weren't fantasy, but genetic memory? "You're saying humans are descendants of alien vampires?" I asked, half laughing. "Not vampires," she corrected softly. "Survivors. You are what we became after we lost ourselves." For the rift. Dross didn't buy her story. He saw only profit. He ordered Kai to rig a containment cell and prepare to transfer her to a buyer on the outer fringe, someone who paid well for xenobiological anomalies. Sarah didn't resist, but I could see the tension in her every movement. She spent hours gazing out the viewport at the dying red star, her expression unreadable. That night I visited her cell. "You don't believe me," she said without turning. "I don't know what to believe," I admitted. "But Dross, he's going to sell you. If what you're saying is true, you can't let them take you." She smiled faintly. You would help me. Tell me one thing first, I said. Why did you flinch at my blood? If you're one of them, one of the original Aaron, shouldn't my blood attract you, not repel you? Her gaze met mine, and for the first time I saw fear there. Because, she whispered, it's not just the virus that evolved. The infection that corrupted my kind, it learned to feed on us. Your blood burns me like acid because it carries what destroyed my world. Before I could respond, alarms blared. The ship shook violently. Something had latched onto our hull. Via the dirthal we rushed to the command deck. Through the viewport I saw them, organic vessels like obsidian shards, moving in coordinated swarms. The dirthal. They followed her signal, Sarah said, appearing beside me. They always do. Dross cursed. How the hell did they survive this long? They don't die, she said quietly. They consume. They smelled the blood. The dirthal began boarding operations, cutting through the Osprey's hull like tissue. Dross barked orders, but the crew was panicking. Plasma fire lit the corridors as the alien intruders poured in. Shadowed figures with bone-white skin and black eyes that drank light. Sarah's eyes flared violet. Stay behind me. Energy rippled from her palms, forming a shimmering barrier of light. The first dirthal to charge disintegrated upon contact, shrieking like metal burning in acid. The rest recoiled, hissing. She turned to me. You want to live? Then trust me. I didn't hesitate. Together we fought our way to the reactor core. Sarah's energy blasts carved through the enemy, but each attack drained her. Blood trickled from her nose, glowing faintly silver. They'll keep coming, she gasped. The only way to stop them is to destroy the core. That'll kill everyone on board, I said. Her gaze softened. Then help me save who we can. We rerouted emergency pods, evacuating the surviving crew. Dross refused to leave, screaming about losing his prize. He lunged at Sarah. She merely touched his forehead and he collapsed unconscious. Then she looked at me. Go. I'm not leaving you. Her expression wavered between sorrow and gratitude. You carry the blood of my enemy and the echo of my people. If you survive, tell them what you saw, that we were not monsters. Before I could argue, she pressed her hand to my chest. Light flared. I was thrown into an escape pod, the hatch sealing instantly. Through the viewport, I saw her turn back toward the reactor. The station's core glowed blinding white. Then everything vanished in a wave of light. 6. The aftermath. When I awoke, I was adrift in deep space. The Osprey was gone. Only fragments of Mirren. 4 remained, drifting like ashes across the void. Rescue came 3 days later, a patrol ship from the Central Colonies. They didn't believe my story. They said the explosion was likely a reactor overload, and the alien woman was a hallucination from oxygen deprivation. My DNA scan, however, revealed anomalies. Genetic sequences not found in baseline humans. Classified anomalies. They transferred me to a containment facility for observation. Weeks passed. I began to dream of her. Of Sarah, standing on the surface of a dying star, watching the light fade. Each time, I'd wake with a metallic taste in my mouth and a faint glow under my skin. One night, alarms sounded. My door slid open on its own. And there she was. Alive. I told you, she said softly. We don't die so easily. I stared, speechless. How? I transferred part of my energy through you when I sent you away, she explained. It anchored me, rebuilt me from your genetic memory. She reached out, touching my hand. You and I share the same thread now. Her touch was cold and warm at once, electric with something ancient. But why come back? Yes. She smiled sadly. Because I finally understand what your blood truly is. I frowned. You said it was infected. It was, she said. But it adapted. Found balance. No longer destroys, it heals. Your species overcame what consumed mine. You evolved beyond the hunger. I was silent, overwhelmed. Aaron Vale, she said softly. You are living proof that monsters can become something greater. 7. The revelation over the next weeks, she taught me things humanity had long forgotten. How to harness latent energy within our biofields, how to hear the resonance of dying stars, how to see the web of life that connects every atom in the cosmos. We traveled together, drifting between forgotten outposts, seeking remnants of the Diarithal. She believed there were survivors still feeding on lost colonies. Each encounter tested us. Sarah grew weaker each time she used her power. The virus within me, however, grew stronger, reacting to her presence, protecting me. Then, in the ruins of a Diarithal hive on Vexor 9, we found something neither of us expected. A stasis chamber, ancient like hers, and inside it a human. This is impossible, I said. No human has been here. Sarah touched the glass. It's not a human. It's what you once were. The being's blood was bright silver, pulsing faintly. She explained that the Aaron had hidden fragments of their pure DNA across the stars, hoping one day a race might be strong enough to bear it. Humanity was their successor. And now the final piece awaited awakening. But if we open it, I said, what happens? She looked at me, eyes filled with quiet resolve. Then you become what we could not, a bridge between light and blood. I placed my hand beside hers on the glass. It shimmered, then dissolved. Light engulfed us. 8. The new dawn when the light faded, we were standing in a field beneath a golden sky. Not real space, but an energy realm. The being from the pod stood before us. Neither man nor woman, but both radiant and calm. You have carried our legacy well, it said. The infection that once cursed us has become your strength. You are the synthesis of shadow and flame. Sarah bowed her head. Then my purpose is complete. The being smiled. Not yet. The Diarithal remain, feeding on forgotten worlds. But now 2 bloodlines walk as one. Go together and end the hunger forever. When we awoke, the stasis chamber was empty. Sarah's eyes glowed brighter than ever. She turned to me, voice trembling. Aaron, I can feel them, the Diarithal. They're afraid. Good, I said. Let's give them a reason to be. 9. Epilogue, blood and light years passed. The galaxy changed. Stories spread of a man and a woman, one human, one alien, who hunted the Diarithal across the stars. They said their ship left trails of silver light wherever it went, and that their eyes burned like suns. They called her the Vampire Star. They called me the Bloodless One. But those names don't matter. What matters is that she taught me what blood truly is. Not just life, but memory, evolution, and choice. What we inherit doesn't define us. What we become does. Sometimes late at night when the stars burn crimson, she looks at me and smiles. You know, I tease. You never did explain why you flinched that first day. She laughs softly. Because I saw what was coming. You terrified me. Me. Yes, she whispers. Because your blood carried the end of my kind, and the beginning of something I could never be. Then she leans in, eyes gleaming like galaxies. And for the first time since the fall of the Aaron, the stars themselves seem to breathe again.